We're gonna get started. Thank you for your patience.
Testing.
We have our
You can test that.
Bay
Turn
Region
it up.
Director here providing additional tech support with the OWL. Because this RJV lead has never worked with an OWL. And it's actually not so easy. One of our presenters is via OWL, so hopefully it'll all work. So welcome. We are at our presentation, which is strengthening ECE and EDU, looking at the Chancellor's roadmap. We're part of the Vision 2030 sector demonstration model. We're a project of the San Francisco Bay region that's been elevated to Vision 2030. And the title of this presentation is Teacher Shortages Impact Us All. So we're going to go over what we've been working on this year, and you'll have an opportunity to talk to each other, to react to some of the presentations. We actually have six people that are going to give you updates on current information. And then you'll have a chance to both talk to each other and some feedback here. It's okay. Talk to each other and ask questions. So let me move forward here, and I'd like to first of all introduce my co-leads on this panel here. We have Joya Chavarin here from Berkeley City College, and she does everything. So if you have a question, just ask Joya. She's been into apprenticeships in our Bay region for probably the longest of anyone in our region. And she's also working dual enrollment, lots of other things. So thank you, Joya, for being here. And also we have Mark Katayama, who's back here. He's with the foundation.
He's right here.
Oh,
Mark's right here.
Oh. Mark is our foundation support person. And the Foundation for California Community Colleges has lots of great programs that support our work and also provide Mark. So thank you, Mark, for being here. You're going to be meeting some of our additional presenters in a moment, and we're going to talk about who's in the room. As I said, we're sharing the key objectives of Vision 2030. We're also going to be looking at what are the emerging and significant teacher shortages. And some of that's going to come through the data presentation with Laura Coleman from Centers of Excellence, and some of it is just based on current legislation and current funding proposals that we know will impact our region. Sector updates, we have an update from the Commission on Teacher Credentialing, from the California Department of Education. They have a new staff person who's on our OWL. And as I said, Laura's going to be sharing Centers of Excellence data, and then a little bit about funding and supporting our movement. So this is just an introduction to everyone that's going to be providing information. Some of the folks on here are not obviously here. Oh, we have a lot of people here though. We have 6 people presenting, and 8 have provided slides. So I'll be covering some of those slides. And just so you know that you're going to have access to this PowerPoint with everyone's email and their information, so you don't have to write anything down. And I'm proud of myself because I'm tech shy, but I was able to put a QWERTY code on here. So let me move this because I think this will impact the code's viability here. But you can get the Q code, and we'd like to know who's in the room. So please sign in. I'll be gathering that data. Sign in, indicate your college, and then do a burning question. What one thing about our sector do you want to know more about? Apprenticeships, dual enrollment, funding, the meaning of life, federal climate around teachers right now. I don't know, just your burning question. We can answer some of them, others we can't. But we'll hopefully be able to cluster you at the end. We've got some keywords scattered around your tables, and we have experts in the room who can help you answer some of those questions. So when you're working on that, did the Q code work? That was my first Q code. And I have another one later on. It's so exciting. And Karen, you're able to hear? Okay, and when you're ready, you can.
Yes, I can hear you. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you so much to Rob. I'm gonna give a hand for being our tech support person and bringing the OWL. Oh, okay, nightmares about this OWL. Okay, so
Teacher shortages impact us all. One of the aims of the 2030 statewide demonstration projects is to address not only early childhood shortages, and we have childhood issues in the state coming out of COVID and extending now on to 2025, where we have shortfalls, programs have hard time finding staff, they have hard time paying living wages. We also have shortages in elementary education. Renee from the Commission on Teacher Production will be talking about a little bit of that, as will Karen from the Department of Ed. And then also to remind all of you that we have shortages not only in high school, but at community college levels. Many of your colleges have a hard time hiring STEM faculty, computer science faculty, nursing faculty, key CTE areas that are growing, but we have documented shortages where jobs have gone out again and again, especially in healthcare, where the wages are higher than what community colleges can pay, and where the work is different. So we have shortages in teaching across the board at all age levels that impact our work. In our workforce, our community colleges prepare over 85% of the ECE workforce, and 54% of TK-12 educators attended. We have to both sustain and build a competent and diverse teaching workforce, starting in high school ideally probably in middle school. We talk to kids about coming back and teaching in the communities, but really having a pathway, a dual enrollment pathway that's strong for high school students. And then really targeting workforce development, building apprenticeships, pre-apprenticeships, dual enrollment, aligned youth and grow your own pathways, and supporting adults. Ourselves in community colleges, we have to mentor our students to come and take our jobs when we retire. I am retired, but I'm just gonna actually looking for someone to do some of my jobs. So please come forward. But we need formal grow your own programs in our colleges too, so that we can encourage especially our CTE students to come back and teach. Our workforce demands, I'm going to highlight these, and then we're going to hear from specialists who have exact numbers and for their expertise areas. As I said, CTE faculty shortages, the high school faculty shortages impact the college pathways. So if the kids aren't getting their high school coursework that fits, if they're not entering pathways, and if they're not getting excited about a pathway in high school, it makes it much harder to continue. STEM is across the board hiring problem, both at high school level and community college level. Art and music in schools. Prop 28, I don't know if many of you know about Prop 28, but it passed recently up to $1 billion. Sounds like a large number, but what that did was guarantee that art and music, including dance, PE, some of the more neglected sectors, would be available to our TK-12 students. And if any of you have been doing teacher preparation for a long time, you know that those pipelines dried up. Nobody went into teaching art because there were no jobs. So artists were like, no one's going to hire me. This money means there will be jobs, there are jobs, and now we have a pipeline shortage. So PE teachers, dance teachers, music teachers, art teachers, visual and performing. Real pipeline shortage. There's money where schools can hire, but we don't have folks coming out of their credentials. So Prop 28, look it up if you think that's going to be an issue in your area. Some of the schools that are really suffering are the arts, the specific visual and performing arts schools in the communities. They just can't find any teachers anyway. And now that everybody's supposed to have visual and performing art teacher, they're going to consultants. And that was really not the purpose of this bill, but let's follow that. Also, we have Excel Workforce. Joy's going to talk to you about after school, and there's $4.4 billion from CDE, the Department of Ed, going into the ELAP funds to provide after school services for kids who are at free and reduced lunch and now higher starting this year. Everyone's supposed to have an after school program. Wonderful, but who's going to staff? And this is all across California, so this is a big shortage area. Transitional kindergarten, we're going to hear from the growth there and how many teachers are expecting. Special ed, huge post-pandemic growth because, as you all probably know, testing was halted. Kids were not identified. Kids were not in school. And now there's a backlog, not only of testing, but of services for students. So, childcare and workforce shortages, especially as we have more return to work mandates. Folks are scrambling for childcare. And healthcare and nursing shortages, the salary challenges. If a registered nurse can make $150 an hour at hospital A, it's going to be challenging for them to come teach at and then family childcare apprenticeship model. Part of Vision 2030 is getting folks into the college system who haven't been there. The United Domestic Workers, UDW, has a new apprenticeship model starting in San Diego, partnership with Southwestern College, if any of you are from San Diego, but the idea is to expand that throughout the state, and to look at family childcare training, coursework, and things that elevate family childcare providers. And we have a shortage because they're providing the majority care for infants. We don't have centers for infants in great numbers in California, so we need more. So I am going to go to the next slide and going to invite Kathleen Marshall from the Commission on Teaching Credentialing, who used to be from College of the Canyons. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. It's great to see everybody today and looking forward to sharing a little bit of information with you. As Kathleen said, there's lots of opportunities within teacher preparation right now. This is a great time to train the next generation of California teachers. And I have to tell you, I have a daughter who went through a college and career readiness education pathway. She took 5 courses during her high school career that focused on becoming a future teacher. She wants to be a librarian. Guess how many of her 5 courses had their enrollments units attached to them? 0. So, and there's nothing wrong with college and career readiness, but if we're talking about pathways and we're talking about accessibility and we're talking about changing systems and changing people's lives, then we need to fill those kind of gaps. That high school kid, Lily Marshall, should not have taken 5 classes with no units. Right? So I'd like to share that because here's the thing. We have some pathways and they're not all as good as they can be right now too. So Kathleen gave you lots of ideas on ways that we can be working together, and we'll continue over the course of the presentation jumping into that. But I'm going to talk just briefly about 2 major things that are happening within early childhood education teacher preparation that need to be on your radar. For some of you, you're going to look at this and be like, what is that? This is called the Child Development Permit Matrix. This has been around since 1993. If anybody's a preschool teacher or site supervisor, director of a program, whether you're an assistant teacher or master teacher, you fall on here. This is the credentialing for preschool. As I said, this was created in 1993. They had an update in 2003. And I'm very proud to say we have just finished a year-long work group related to this. And there's been some recommendations that have come out. And within 2 years, there will be an updated child development permit matrix that will completely have impact on your programs and what you're doing at your sites. So while this looks foreign right now, don't worry, there's just a couple basic things that are happening. As I said, there was a work group related to it. So we had experts from early childhood education working for a year together with a lot of public input to try to figure out what worked with the matrix and what needs to be made better. And we're going through the process of approving different pieces of this through the regulatory process and through the Commission on Teacher Credentialing right now. I actually will be presenting on this tomorrow for some specializations. But it's important to know that with the Child Development Permit Matrix, things are going to be changing quite a bit. Like I said, within probably about 2 years, 2 or 3 years. First of all, it's going to go from having 6 permits to having 5 permits. There's going to be a change in the terminology. So for any of you who've heard master teacher or site supervisor, it's going to be changing. It's going to be Early Childhood Educator 1, ECE 1, Early Child Administrator 1, ECA 2. So it's going to have a little bit of a different look to it, but it will be aligned with NAEYC levels of ECE practitioners. It's also important to note that when it comes to this update that's happening, there's going to be the scope of authorizations have all been updated. It's trying to kind of modernize things for the next generation. It's important to note though, we haven't released it in the same kind of version yet as that first matrix that you saw, so that will be coming out soon. It's important to know too, there used to be an entry level called an assistant teacher. That level has changed pretty significantly. I want you to know though, that the work group specifically tried to create a position for your dual enrollment students, for your apprenticeship students, for anybody who's on the way to being a teacher. Like, you've got 6 minutes, guess what? We've got a provisional permit on the new matrix for you to get you going. So that will get you going until you get to the next level. And the idea too with the matrix, the intention is it's supposed to be a lattice of stability and a ladder for opportunity. So, and I give this example in teacher preparation. My sister has been a 7th grade English teacher for 28 years, and she's fantastic at it and loves it. She's going to retire as a 7th grade English teacher. Now, if you looked at my trajectory over the last 30 years I've been in education, I've done all sorts of things. And so we've kind of used our training in different ways. And that's the idea with the matrix. So you can stay where you're at, or your future teachers can stay where they're at, but they can also go for advanced or higher level positions if that is of interest to them. Also important to know that there are the entry pathways. We really want to make sure that there's plenty of entry pathways for anybody who's interested. Within this also, we'll be uploading this. There's links to all sorts of different resources that we have. And all of these are live links, and you're invited to everything that we've got there. Our contact information is there as well. And I also want to share with you, in addition to the child development permit, okay, that matrix that has been updated for the first time in over 20 years, California has its first brand new credential in 30 years. So I was just talking permanent, which is part of early childhood, and credentialing, which is part of early childhood. And that's the PK3, Early Childhood Education Specialist Instruction Credential. It's quite a mouthful. But I'm happy to say that as of right now, there's 9 different groups across the state of California that are offering this. And if any of you in this room have a multiple subject credential and 24 units of early childhood education, any 24 units, upper division, lower division, any from a accredited institution, you too could have a PK3 credential. I'd be happy to talk to you about that. So, and wanted to mention, hopefully by the end, like a month from here, there should be a 10th group joining that list. We're trying to improve groups as quickly as possible. So this basically goes to show there are lots of jobs. There's so much movement with the credentialing and permitting. This is really an optimal time to jump into teacher preparation. And with that, I think we're handing over to Karen, right? Yes, thank you. Renee will be here. She's part of our Ask Me team. So if you have questions about permit, the new credential, even a little bit about multiple subjects, she knows that. She was a subject teacher. So I'd like to introduce Karen Scher, who's here by OWL, and she's here by OWL thanks to Rock. And she is a new hire for Superintendent Tony Thurman. Her job is teacher recruitment for the state of California. So Karen, do a test, make sure we can hear you.
Can you all hear me? Good morning, everyone. Okay, great. And thank you, Renee. That was a wonderful introduction and so much information, that a lot of new information for me as well. So thank you for that. My name is Karen Scher. I serve as the Director of Teacher Recruitment for the CDE. My position is new to the California Department of Education in that they haven't ever taken on the job of recruitment before, at least not in the most recent past that I can remember, because the CDE does not hire teachers or staff directly, right? So my job is to act as a support for anyone who's looking to become a teacher, helping to find pathways and break down barriers with regard to financial obligations and various pathways to teaching. So my email is on the top, as well as the Teach in CA at CDE.ca.gov. I respond to that email address as well. So if anyone would like more information, you're welcome to contact me. This information, these pathways that the CDE and the team designed, really is a reflection of the fact that, as Renee mentioned, there are many pathways into the teaching profession. Many of us, like myself, took a little bit longer to finish our college experience, and that's okay. So some people go the traditional 4-year route. There are many, like myself, who started in community college and then went into a credential program. And then there are the returning or second or third career individuals who would really love to bring their professional knowledge and passion into a classroom. So there are lots of ways to obtain a credential, and the 4 paths to becoming a teacher. If you all have access to the slide deck, you'll see that some of the things are underlined. Wherever something is underlined, that's actually a live link. So it will take you to, if you want information about the Golden State Teacher Grant or about residency programs, there are some live links there for you. And then the one in the middle is information about the Golden State Teacher Grant Program, which is up to a $20,000 scholarship that can be braided with loans and other scholarships or funding that you have that you're receiving. But it is meant to help you pay for that credential program. So once you are admitted into a credential program, that's when you would apply for the Golden State Teacher Grant. And then depending on, what kind of school you will be teaching in, there are various requirements to obtaining that scholarship. So that is there for you as well. And then I think we're going to flip to the next slide. There's another one there for us to talk about. Oh, there you go. So as Renee mentioned, Prop 28, really exciting because as most of you might be aware of, the most high needs for the teaching profession are math, science, and special education. Those are the content areas where we have the highest need. And then there's Prop 28, which brought arts, and I'm going to use an S on the end because it is arts and music, into California schools, because the taxpayers and voters of the great state of California really believe, and it passed overwhelmingly, believe that students of all grade levels should have access to arts and music in the classroom. And what that equates to in numbers that I have been told is anywhere between 9,000 and 15,000 arts and music teachers will be needed. And I see someone shaking their head. Yeah, will be needed in the coming years. And so this is a really exciting time for anyone who has ever dreamt about being an arts or a music teacher to obtain that credential and find their way into a classroom in California. There's some information that I also, those links on the top about Prop 28, those are live links as well. And then on the left bottom, you'll see teacher compensation that I think is really, an interesting map. When we talk about teaching in the profession, there's no doubt that, and I'm included, I've been a teacher for 32 years, mostly middle school language arts. And, teachers could, by comparison, make about 20% less than other professions where a master's degree is required. And however, California is really catching up, I think, to the notion that teachers should and need to be paid more. There are other efforts to help offset teacher salaries. One of the things that Superintendent Thurmond is working on with the California School Board Association is developing affordable housing for teachers and staff. And that's a really exciting opportunity. This isn't part of my slide, but I can tell you that currently school districts in California own about 75,000 square acres of land that is currently being unused or is underdeveloped. And so that property can be used to develop housing for teachers and staff. And there are projects that have taken place already in LAUSD. Jefferson Union just opened an amazing facility. There are projects happening in San Diego and also in Ventura County. We're at the beginning stages in the Oxnard Union High School District, where I also serve as a school board member. So this is something, when we talk about teacher salaries and moving forward, workforce housing is definitely something that can offset a teacher's salary by about 30%, maybe even more. So while, we perhaps aren't paid as well as we should be, there are opportunities for us to have housing that is more affordable and close to where we want to work. There are some exciting new services that have been developed with the help of 10 state agencies who have come together to develop a collaborative workforce group to help further these initiatives to bring teachers and wherever they are in their career, beginning or maybe returning or second or third career, that the CTC is sponsoring and has developed an education career counseling page. And that actually is, and that line or that education career counseling that's underlined is a live link as well. That is actually, if you fill out a Google form that's very short, a person will actually contact you and be able to guide you through the process. And that page has only been up since March. And already we've had over 123,000 hits. And interestingly enough, of those 123,000 people that have filled out that form, over 35% of them over 30% of them are 35 years of age and older. And I think that's also a reflection of the fact that the Social Security Fairness Act was passed last year, and that allows people to come into the profession without giving up their Social Security, which is a huge win for second and third career teachers. And then lastly is the roadmap to teaching, which is also something that's come out of that workforce collaborative. And it's really, it's on the CTC's website, but it is a place for people to sort of place themselves on a track and then go based on their experience. So if you're a beginning teacher, it tells you what you'll need to do to obtain a credential. If you're in a credential program already, it gives you some information about what you'll need to do to complete your credential program. But this is a really exciting opportunity for anyone who's looking to be a teacher and also a mental health school counselor. We don't want to forget about those. Superintendent Thurmond and his priorities are very clear, and mental health for students and faculty and staff is a priority. So the Golden State Teacher Grant, although it's called the Teacher Grant, also can be used for a PPS credential, which is a peer pupil services credential, and that would allow you to be a mental health school counselor or various other positions within a school community. And really ending on the fact that, you know, Superintendent Thurmond and the CDE and I believe that public education is the underpinning of our democracy, and that teachers and school communities make every other profession possible. And it's a wonderful way to spend a career, a noble profession, the most noble profession. And if anyone has questions about becoming a teacher or a mental health school counselor, that's my job. I'm here to help you. So please reach out to me, and I'm happy to work with anyone who's interested. So thanks everyone for your time. And if there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you, Karen. We're going to go on and we'll have questions after. But thank you so much. And you will all get the PowerPoint. I have a Q code for it. And these live links should come through. So you'll have her email address also. So thank you so much. Thank you for being here by OWL.
Of course, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, we're going to move on to apprenticeships in the sector. And we have two speakers, three actually. I wanted to also announce, while we're still talking a bit about CDE, when Renee was up here telling you about TK, a data point you would probably be interested in is that 230,000 4-year-olds are enrolled in TK right now, but there are 450,000 4-year-olds in California. So there's a almost 50% gap, almost. And if all those kids started to come to TK, where would we get those teachers from? And it's, I mean, we could use 9, 10, 11,000 new TK teachers to serve the number of 4-year-olds that are going to start TK. And for many of your districts that are experiencing budgetary problems, I will tell you the news in San Francisco that's been coming out, and that's the districts that had a lot of financial issues. They were blown away with how many TK enrollments they had. It almost, you know, it didn't wipe away their deficit, but it was far exceeding what they thought. So parents are interested in getting their 4-year-olds in TK, they're interested in enrolling, and we don't want to have no classroom because there's no teacher. So it's an opportunity, but it's also a threat if we can't find teachers. Okay, we're going to move to apprenticeships, and we've got some great speakers lined up. In our region, San Francisco Bay region, we have 28 community college supported ECE or EDU apprenticeships right now, up from 1 in 2017. And you're gonna meet the 1 back in 2017, and she'll tell you how many she has now. But 28 pathways is amazing for one region. We've kind of been breaking ground, and those are not easy apprenticeships to launch. Some of you've been, I mean, Kim will tell you, Justin will tell you, they're experts in doing this pathway. It's hard in a non-traditional sector. We also have 12 high school and adult and county office of ed pathways. So lots of involvement from our K-12 partners. And we have 8 employer-sponsored pathways where the employer holds the apprenticeship. Some of our goals here is increased interface with the model project at Rancho Santiago, more GYO and earn and learn pipelines. We have to inventory and track all of our apprenticeships in California in this sector. It's very hard to pin them down. They're opening daily. As soon as a CAI grant comes out, California Apprenticeship Initiative grant, and they're awarded, you know, we tend to get 10 more in the state in this sector. And we have to track all of our teacher apprenticeships in other states, because a lot of states are using apprenticeship for their multiple subject, their elementary and high school teacher training. And we're not doing that yet, but we're getting there. And then we have to release and distribute all the reports that are coming out to document our vision. So I want to bring up my partner in crime here, Joya Chavarin. She's going to tell you a bit about what she's working on and where Joya goes, the rest of us follow. And let me get your first slide.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Kathleen. It's such a pleasure to be with you all today. And as Kathleen stated, we started a little early because it was a crisis. We really needed workers. I was the workforce development director at the YMCA of the East Bay, and I was a part-time faculty with the Peralta Community College System, married in Berkeley City. And what we noticed is we not only need wonderful teachers, we need them trained and we need them ready to go now. So we kicked off with the first CAI grant back in 2018. It was a collaboration with SEIU, and LA Trade Tech College was our fiscal agent, believe it or not, even though we're located in the Bay Area. Everybody familiar with Berkeley is. And so we started off with our tier 1, which is our interdisciplinary exploring if we want to be teachers or not. Basically, that is our dual enrollment. That is our Head Start parents who set goals with their family advocates. And that's anyone who is trying to figure out if they want to teach or even become better parents. The curriculum is designed where they get industry certification through the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. They also get work occupation hours to explore working with children. And if they decide not to work with children, at least they come out of that first tier with the knowledge, skills, and competencies to understand how to interact well with children, how to speak with children, how to understand environments and curriculum. And every field needs a great teacher. No matter what field you go into, you need a good teacher. So they come out of that figuring it out. They want to be intervention specialists, child psychologists, social workers, whatever their hearts desire. The classes count, they're transferable, and they lead to industry certification, and they lead you to a job. We hire them right away. The high school students, no matter where they go, I have students at Long Beach, at UC Merced, there's child development centers on campus, they're able to get jobs, which is great. Our next tier is the AA degree, and that is pretty much for our early childhood as well as our after school, before school programming. And I'll just continue to click this so you guys can see. And in the slides, there's additional information and links. So if you want more information and what classes we offer, like if you notice in tier 1, we're not doing like all of the ECE classes because we don't want them tracked into a field they may not like, they may not enjoy. So of course they take child growth and development, and they take, sociology of the family. All of those classes count for their degree. They stack to the next certificate, and it's a pathway that Renee's daughter would have gotten her units because they come out of it with 12 units or a 6-unit assistant permit or associate teacher permit. And of course that's changing. Our tier 2 is our Girls Inc. Program that launched. That's our newest. before and after school programming, and that basically aligns to the requirement that to be an after school worker or before school work. And a lot of our teachers in this program are also paraprofessionals. So they may work before or after school, or they may work at the school district because it's expensive to live in the Bay Area. But their goal is 48 units. So we give them a teacher certificate out of Berkeley City College. We give them 48 transferable units. But guess what? When you get to 48 transferable units, you're 12 units away from a what? An AA degree. And so once they realize we could do it, we're in a cohort, we got each other's back. They usually come out of this. We just got our first group since 2022, because we also honor where they are. We don't want them taking classes that they've already taken or that. So we go through a really strong transcript analysis to figure out what's the fastest way. Of course, we want them to get an AST in child and adolescent development, but sometimes they're getting a liberal arts degree because many times their goal is to continue on to get the BA and a credential. So this is, I call it honestly my messy group, because they're coming in with a lot of units and they just never had a way to transfer them in and figure it out. So we give them their industry certification. And they also have jobs. And what's great is that each time they complete, they get a raise. That's the difference with apprenticeship. It's not like you're going back to school to get a lot of debt, and then when you get the degree, you have a lot of student loans. This is debt-free, textbooks free, laptops, all of it, Wi-Fi. We have success coordinators, academic success coordinators. And there's a recruitment video here. It's only 3 minutes, but it just gives voices to what this program is about, because many of our wonderful providers, we call them program leaders, they never had the opportunity to be successful in school because of work, and you guys get it, and burying children, which is funded by CAI, and we also have some additional funding through our college. So if that's something you're interested in, like how do we pay for this? We do leverage capacity support between our programs, and we meet weekly. So we're constantly redesigning and listening to their voices, because it changes depending on the group of the students that come in, and their needs change as well. I mean, as you guys can tell, we have after school providers who are immigrants. And so there's just a lot of things happening contextually that you have to not necessarily understand when you're designing the program, but while you're in it, you have to be willing to listen and to use your data to make change. And all of those changes don't actually work really easily at the community college system. Because you're not just working in instruction, you're working with your student services department, you're working with your missions and records, you're working with your bursar. I mean, you're really bringing in all of these siloed, usually typical departments of people who've been there for many, many years, who've always done it this way. But things, change when you're dealing with apprenticeship, because you're really wrapping around all those services to support the student success and their completion and their matriculation through to go ahead and get their BA. And then our last group, which is our longest group, I was the Y, they're all the tiers. The YMCA, if you guys remember the School Readiness Act of Head Start, you have to have a BA degree. So they actually have each tier, which is your 12 units, the AA degree, and the BA degree. So we have partners with our CSU and Advance to get them their BA degree. They get their transferable classes with us at Berkeley City, and then we transfer them on. And again, it's debt-free, and they get raises at each point. And so in this, I'm talking fast because we don't have a lot of time, but in the slides, those links in the purple just gives you additional information about the program. Our dual enrollment program was sponsored by the Partnership to Advance Youth Apprenticeship back in 2019 before the pandemic. So you will see how far we've come, because we started off not paying our high school students, which is insane. Now they get paid to take classes, they get paid to work with children. We got California Opportunity Youth Apprenticeship funding for that, PIA funding for that, our sector intermediary, ECEPS pays for it. And so I share that because we are growing our own. So those high school students that do stay, continue on, they go to the Y or they go to Girls Inc. And we also have other school district partners, and then they continue to stay. And what's really powerful right now is because we started so long, I even have faculty who started off as apprentices because they were able to not only get their BA degree, but get their master's degree. So as Renee was saying, many of us want to be teachers, but many of us have a really wonderful other path of education opportunities. And I'll share my story. I was a Head Start parent. I was a parent volunteer, a teacher's aide, a teacher, a center director. I worked at the Resource and Referral Center. And while I was doing that, I was working part-time, and I was raising 4 children. So I'm just sharing with you that It's a perfect grow your own system that gives you debt-free. And it also, you know, I mean, I know apprenticeship is fancy, that's a fancy word right now, but this is something that's systemic. And, you know, it really does change people's lives. It's a two-generational approach. And if they don't become teachers, I have one apprentice who became a pilot, I mean, not a pilot, a stewardess on the airplane because she wanted to travel. But now she looks at crying babies differently. I still hear from her. So I'm just sharing with you that these are the stories that, hey, I may not want to teach, but I am looking at children and the way I speak to them. It's a humanistic field, and it's something that I just see the impact, and I just feel so lucky to have been part of it since 2017. I started in the field in 2002, and I'm the one with the student loan debts. I'm so happy that we figured out something that wraps our services around folks that really want to reflect the community that they serve and be successful and complete. So I'll just stop there and just want to help just share with you to go to the links in the slides if you're curious about how we did it. And we've come a long way. We've made a lot of changes and we're still learning. We're still learning. So I'll stop with that. Thank you, Kathleen.
Thank you, Joya. So she's asked me for dual enrollment, apprenticeship, grow your own, and being a parent. She beat me by one child. I have 3 in college, so she had 4. So
And they're grown.
we got some tough ladies up here. Okay, we're gonna hear from Justin with Launch Apprenticeship Network, and Kim. You come forward. She's with Cabrillo College, and Justin and Kim together. Justin's the intermediary for this project, and Kim is going to talk to you about being a college with an apprenticeship program in education. Justin, take it away, and I'll put your first slide up here. Okay.
Thank you, Kathleen. Hello, everyone. My name is Justin. I'm the Associate Director for our Higher Ed team at the Launch Apprenticeship Network. I'm going to go over a little bit about how we operate within the state and how we support the Bay region within education. And so when we think about the Launch Apprenticeship Network, if you haven't heard about us before, we are a program sponsor and intermediary that is housed as a collaborative impact partner for the Foundation of California Community Colleges, where we lead state-registered education-aligned apprenticeship programs. So currently we operate across 6 industries to include EDU and ECE. And through that capacity, what we really do for the community colleges, especially as several of us come from the community colleges, myself included, is to lead state and federal compliance for registered apprenticeship programs in accordance to what the colleges need, in accordance to accreditation, in accordance to what their deans and administrators and senior staff require to be successful in the space. And so we're able to do that. We also support implementation with the different departments, with the different divisions, and with the support of championing faculty, such as one that we have here from Cabrillo College. We're able to make programs successful. Because what we really advocate for, and to have all these colleges on the screen, is to leverage a multitude of employers, a network of employers, colleges, stakeholders, federal agencies, CBOs, to come together to create positive socioeconomic impact to our children, our students, and our community. And so with that, I'm going to dive into our education apprenticeship program. So the Bay Area was really on the leading edge, on the frontier of a regional approach across 3 colleges. And I'll mention why College of the Canyons is there in a bit. But they took this bold move to not think about competition in terms of enrollment, but how can we come together to brainstorm and meet a critical sector need and a skills gap need that's facing the state. As we work across the 8 regional consortia, there is one through line of skills gap. Actually, there's 2. It's education and healthcare. That has been through all the 8. And so now we're trying to make big impacts through an entry-level registered apprenticeship program that is flexible. It can dive into ECE, it can dive into expanded learning, it can dive into single subject, multi-subject teaching credentials, because ultimately we work with the faculty, we will work with the counselors to create comprehensive student educational plans that map toward their end goal, and also mapping competencies that align to Cal GETSI and CSU GE patterns as well as private schools. But one thing that we really wanted to think about as we were approached by Bridge is, again, we don't just leverage our own programs. We are not afraid to collaborate and leverage other programs. And so as we became the program administrator, we're working with San Jose City College to expand EDU apprenticeship programs to any college in the state. And so now you can see that College of the Canyons is on here because they've registered now through these standards created by the Bridge program, 25 EDU apprentices with the Child Care and Resource Center as their employer, right? Aligned with Head Start, CTC, things like that, as well as Volunteers of America. And so it is really growing in that space. And what makes this really critical in terms of alleviating and eliminating financial barriers is leveraging and understanding ed code, labor code, apportionment. If apportionment is not available because you are maybe in community aid or unfunded FTE status, looking at contracts, SWP, RSI, and leveraging our workforce boards to make sure that our apprentices by law are not charged tuition, whether they're resident or non-residents taking those courses under program sponsorship of Bridge. And so as we scale throughout the state, there was this brainstorming idea that we had with the committee members in our group planning. And so as the Bridge wanted to become a hub for the Bay Area, we realized that this is so much more than just a region, that we should expand it throughout the whole state. And how do we incorporate, how do we capture a lens that aggregates both sub-region on a micro scale and a macro scale to aggregate the needs of the state? And so as we look at program sponsorship, there are single employer sponsorships, there's one-to-many employer sponsorships. As we talked about earlier in the presentation, Bay Area is the biggest region and we have multiple sponsors, we have multiple colleges that are sponsors. So how do we consolidate and come together as a front to make sure that we serve our students and our communities? Hence, we are working now with Launch and with the Bridge and the chair, VP Dickerson out of San Jose City College, to make sure that we try to incorporate cooperative sponsorship. And I kind of have a brainstorming template right here, where how can we create a regional or at this point, a statewide hub, identify a program sponsor so that the colleges can really do what they want to do best, and that is teach and be hands-on with our students. We have multiple sponsors in play. So Bridge is a sponsor. Our team is also looking at putting our ECE standards in alignment with Bridge to lead that throughout the state. Again, putting more colleges into this statewide committee, allowing all DAS files and occupations to be housed under that statewide committee, and then having our apprentices identified in sector. When I was still an instructional CTE manager, my dean would ask me two questions. And that is, what are the success rates of postgraduates going to apprenticeship programs? Through a statewide committee or even a regional committee, we can identify that, right? Because we're balancing RSI, augmenting academic curricula, and then after they complete that, or while they're completing that, they are job placed. The next question that my dean would ask me is, how are you actorizing the data, right? There are multiple data platforms. There's the DAS platform, there's the MIS platform, there's our enrollment platforms institutionally. And when we have a statewide committee, we can accurize the data of how many apprentices are active, successful, and even interested going into these pipelines. And so that's a little bit about what we're working on a statewide level with the Bay Area Regional Consortium and the colleges at large. And I'll pass it off to
Okay,
the faculty member.
all right. Kim, you have about 1 minute. Then well have Centers of Excellence.
Very good. Hi, everyone. I'm Kim Sakamoto Steidel, and I'm faculty project lead for ECE, Early Childhood Education, and Education Apprenticeships at Cabrillo College. And I wanted to thank you for allowing us to be here today. And I'm going to give you just a brief little snippet of what our Bridge timeline has looked like. So starting in 20 to 22, we started out with just information sessions. We'd hear from Kathleen, we'd hear from Joya, we'd hear from all these different groups. Hey, there's this thing called apprenticeship. That was happening early on. And sometimes we think like, what is this thing? Do we really have the time to go to it? But we stood behind Kathleen and Adele and all the other partners who were there because we had a partnership that went on like way before that. So we're like, okay, we'll try this out. 2022 to 2024. We received a CAI, NNI, BACCC, RJV apprenticeship for the teaching assistant one that Justin had just described. And we couldn't have done it without John Dunn being there to answer questions, Kathleen providing that industry sector support, and also having this sub-regional collaborative where between the meetings, we were always having conversations, asking questions, coming up with new ideas, and then bringing it back to the group. We had an intermediary, career-wise. They were from Colorado. They focused on youth apprenticeship. Our group was going in a different direction, and so they were able to get us started. We have also a strong partnership with Network Connections, and they provided the employer partnership support that led us into 24-26, where Launch came on. Launch got us to the next level. They helped us to get registered with the Department of Apprenticeship Services and with the Department of Labor. They also helped to create that really clear vision of here's what we need to do and here's what we need to do next. And I have to say, it's not an easy pathway, but when you are working in collaboration, you have people you can reach out to in every sector, at every department, it makes a difference. And so what is our next step? Well, as I was driving here, I saw a colorful mural that said, the near future is still ahead. And I was like, what does that mean? But then I started thinking about this session. I was thinking, sometimes I feel that way about apprenticeship. I'm not quite sure about where this is going, but I know that having people like here on the panel and on our group, our new colleagues able, I know that we're able to get this done. So thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you so much. I'm going to bring Laura Coleman up and we're going to go to her slides. And actually, I'm going to just go by these very quickly because you'll have the slides. Next Gen Policy has a new grant they're supporting our work. And there's a slide with Next Gen's information, so you can look at that. And then Ronita Guha is not here, but Education First is the group that's looking into K-12 teacher apprenticeships. And I said 45 states have them, we don't. And so they have some slides here, and they also have a new working group that's looking at teacher apprenticeships, as well as a new toolkit. So the links here to the toolkit, how to get teacher apprenticeships going for your elementary and high school teachers. And then I'm going to introduce Laura Coleman, who is from the Centers of Excellence, and she's going to give you some exciting news. I know she's right behind me with her exciting news. She's very exciting with exciting news. And there's her first slide. Take it away, Laura.
Hi, everyone. I know our time is limited. It's working. Sound?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So what you see on the screen here is kind of what Kathleen said, exciting news. So exciting news is we are developing a statewide brief on the employment landscape of education or teaching roles within education. So I brought some of the data that we've compiled so far to give you a sense of what size of workforce across the state in this pipeline. So when we talk about, where are these jobs, I want to say, like, where are the employers for these jobs? And so you can see here for the roles that we identify, 24 occupational roles, they're spread across primarily 5 different industry categories. And so those are listed just to give you a sense of, where employment is for these workers. It totals 1.1 million jobs. Their annual growth combined is at 10% for the next 5 years, which is twice the state average. So these, a little bit more about those 24 occupations and the 4 career pathways that we group them into. And you can see they're very familiar from what the panelists have been talking about. And then we also have the sort of other miscellaneous, which is cross-cutting. So those are roles that you will see in all 3 of the other pathways. And then just some very high level data top lines so far. Again, the 1.4 million jobs, 24 occupations, 10% growth rate, which is about 162,000 annual opportunities. Mostly competitive wages. I say mostly because some of the occupations that we included are on the lower end in terms of hourly wage. These are annualized. You can see that the lowest annual wage for an occupation in this group is $36,000. And I'd also say that, you know, always annualize your numbers, but also think about what is that a part-time or a full-time role, because you could make a lovely hourly wage, but it means nothing if you're not getting enough hours. And then finally, the pipeline data that we'll be discussing in the report to come includes information on programs in the top code 13 primarily, and so not, you know, capturing all of the students that progress to teaching careers outside of that top code. But just in that top code, we have 113 colleges participating, and annual awards of about 16,000. And then finally, just to give you in the slide deck some idea of the different resources available through COE that are already existing to help you see in your own region or at this state level some of the research that's already up, and then, you know, where to find the report when it's published. So if you see me and have any questions, let me know. I'll be around all week. Thanks, Kathleen.
Thank you.
And Laura's the statewide director for the Centers of Excellence, and all of you are in regions and you probably have regional directors. But see her if you grab her if you need to have a data question. And I don't know if she mentioned, this is the first ever statewide report in our sector. So we're really excited to see the numbers, and we want you to use this data as best you can. Steve's not here, but what is in here is there's changes to the transfer degrees. Those of you who have elementary and early childhood, child and adolescent transfer degrees, there have been some changes. They were just approved by Academic Senate, so you can go through here. Basically, transfer degrees, they've reduced the units you need. There's a disconnect between Cal-GETC restrictions. They're only allowing one education course. It doesn't always align. And those of you, I know in this room, you're probably all dealing with a different CSU or UC. It's probably no news to you that for teachers, the pathways don't align. It depends on which school you're going to and where you come from. So you can take a look at this slide. There are some live links in here. And the AAT in elementary is also having some changes. Take a look at what the proposed changes are. And I hear they just passed. So a piece of exciting news, if you come from a community college in California, ACTEP, which Steve Bautista, he sent these slides in, and he's the advocacy coordinator, the Association of California Community College Teacher Ed Programs. They are allowing for 2 free ACTEP memberships this year to any community college in California. They will pay for the membership. So just go to www.actep.org, and then you'll get the policy briefs, you'll get information on legislation, 2 free memberships for every community college in the state. So join ACTEP now. It's a great way to hear about information. So in terms of our roadmap to success, I think we are about done. Joya, I've just got our Academic Senate resolution up here. Joya worked on it, it updated something I worked on several years ago, and it is here for your use. That the entire state agreed that our sector needs more support. So if you need to have any leverage anywhere, it's a great resolution, use it. And some ways we support faculty and staff. What else is in here? We did a new playbook for how to run a virtual conference. So if any of you are interested in running virtual conferences, I know we have Teach for LA, we've had Teach for Antelope Valley, we've had Teach for blah, blah, Teach for the Bay. But if you want to run a virtual conference, Teach for Far North, Teach for San Diego, Teach for Inland Empire, we have a playbook that gives you step-by-step how to do a student conference that's free, virtual, and in this sector, designed to get more students into your programs and more teachers in classrooms at all levels. And so we're gonna be here. We are here to answer questions. We've got some experts around. We've got some possible topics out there on the table. I hope you can stay with us for a few minutes and ask questions. We've got a lot of experts here in the room. If you have a burning question when you signed in, please ask it and take away some information. And this is your Ask Me time. What would you like to know more about? What are you working on? Who can you partner with? Ask us. We'll be here another 10 minutes. And here's my other PowerPoint. Hang on, my other birdie code. Hang on. Scan this and you can get the PowerPoint. So you'll have all those live links, all the great information. Proud of myself. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it up here and please talk to each other, talk to us, and even if you see us during lunch, right? You have a burning question and we're eating lunch, go for it.
Or tomorrow.
Or tomorrow, or tonight. Okay, so thank you so much for being here, and thank you to my panelists. Thank you to Mark, to Laura, to Joya, to Justin, to Renee, to Kim, and to Karen, who's still on the owl. So thank you.
Thank you.